A couple of days ago, I got a message from one of my mentees, and he was thanking me for a podcast that I put out. And he was thanking me because very recently he just moved to his own place, his own apartment, and he informed me when he moved to his apartment. And I was very happy for him because this was something he had been wanting to do for a while. And now he could finally do it. So I was happy. So when I got this message, he was thanking me for putting out the podcast. And his reason for thanking me was because he said where he now stays is quite a distance from the city center. In Abuja, you have a place that is like the city center of Abuja where you have all the facilities, a lot of the offices, a lot of the restaurants, a lot of, basic amenities are just rich at the city center. So you have places like that in Abuja. You have Wuse, Maitama, Garki, Asokoro. You have, even you have new places springing up right now within Abuja where real estate is prime. And my mentee told me, look, he has moved to a place more on the outskirts of Abuja. So this place is several kilometers away from the city center where there is premium life. And he said he finds himself sometimes ashamed of saying that's where he lives. And when I did my podcast and I said, oh, I live in a place that is quite, distant from the city center. Just the express road leading to the city center for me is over 18 kilometers before I get to where we call the city gate. I have to drive 18 kilometers at least before I get to the city gate that takes me to the city center. And I could understand his emotions. I could. Because he was coming from a place where he was living in the city and had to move out. I think from his parents' place to live on his own, which was very similar to me. I've said it on my podcast before. I lived with my parents till I was 31. And that is very, very hard for anyone to pull off in today's time. I lived with my parents till I was 31. I got married when I was 31 and I moved out of the house after I got married. I realize today a lot of people find it hard to even stay with their parents even when they are 21. And that's part of what I want to talk about today. The pressure that is put on people through where they focus their minds or what they focus their minds on. You see, for me, one of the reasons I do this podcast is to give people hope. Hope. Hope is a very scarce resource in the times that we live in. Very scarce. And one thing I want to do with this podcast for people to listen to the podcast and feel hopeful and feel courageous and feel somewhat complete, not lacking. A lot of times we don't have hope because of where we put or what we pay attention to with our minds, with this mind of ours. The content we consume. The content we consume. And I realized that this, my mentee, has been largely influenced subconsciously, he might not even know it, by content. A lot of times when we say content, we always think of online content. We think of videos we watch, podcasts we listen to, music we listen to, and stuff. No, that's content, but that's not all content. Some of it is conversations you have, relationships that you have, the people you talk to, the banter you have with people in your offices. That's content. All those form the imaginary world in your mind. Those things are capable of corrupting the good things that God wants to tell you every single day. God is telling you something good every single day. He has a good word for you every single day. A good promise for you every single day of your life. But then there are things that come and corrupt it. There are things that come and pollute it. Stop you from getting that message that God has for you. Those things are like fumes. You see, if you go to a place where there's a lot of fumes, there are a lot of vehicles, and every vehicle is bringing out fumes, even though the sun is out, do you know fumes can make it seem like the sun is setting when the sun is just rising? Fumes can obscure the sun. So the sun is there, but you're surrounded by thick darkness that comes from people's exhausts. And there are a lot of people spewing out thick darkness through the exhaust called their mouth in today's world that skew your perception of your life. As I said, this my mentee's situation is not so different from mine. My parents were living in, when we got to Abuja, highbrow areas in Abuja. We went from Asokoro, which is very highbrow, to living in Area 11, which is also in the core of town. You understand? It's core city center. And when I moved out, I moved to where I am right now, which is called Lugbe, which is very far from town. It's quite far from town. But then, when I moved here, I wasn't insecure about where I was. I wasn't. In fact, I was happy to be in this place. I wasn't insecure. Although I could see the stark differences in terms of power supply, water supply, the roads and stuff like that, I could see the stark differences. But I wasn't insecure. I just knew it was uncomfortable, but I knew it was part of life. But then I realized that the older I got, the more insecure I became about where I was living. Which is strange. Because the older I get, I should get more accustomed. But I was getting more insecure. And I was feeling almost the same insecurity for a while as my mentee is feeling. In fact, I still struggle with it now. And I had to ask myself, why didn't I feel insecure when I first moved here? When I actually came from city center to this suburb right now? Why didn't I feel insecure now? Then, why am I feeling insecure several years later when I should have settled in? And I realized that the reason for the insecurity was the content that had been slipping into my life. When I got married, social media content wasn't that strong. Video content wasn't that abundant. Podcasts were very few and far between. WhatsApp wasn't a thing. In fact, what we were using there we were using Blackberries. So everything was text. We didn't see a lot of videos, a lot of images. Blackberries were used for business. You understand? And it was one-on-one communication. I didn't hear from one influencer somewhere. But several years after, I've been open to a barrage of information. over informed, barrage of information. If it's not WhatsApp, it's Facebook. If it's not Facebook, it's Instagram. If it's not Instagram, it's X or Twitter. If it's not that, if you use what's this one called? TikTok. It's TikTok. If it's not that, it's Snapchat. All bombarding you with text, images, videos, and audios. And that is where the content corruption comes in. That is where insecurity is built. That's what changed between when I moved in, when I got married, and now that I've been here. Why I haven't settled in. Why I was more appreciative in the beginning and more insecure now. Because there's more content. And this is what my mentee is going through. A barrage of toxic content that is being propagated on social network and by people who have consumed this content also in your life that are discussing with you. I want to have you know that we live in an era of heightened capitalism. Heightened capitalism. A lot of people do not understand the spirit of capitalism. They think it's something innocuous. They don't understand that capitalism is get money from the next person's hands at all costs without obviously hurting them. Walk the line of legality as close to the edge as possible. That what you're doing is not considered illegal, but you can get people to release the money in their hands. Even if you have to twist the truth, even if you have to sow an insecurity in them. In fact, that is one of the biggest way of selling things to people. Sowing a seed of insecurity. Make them hate their condition. Make them hate the way they look. Make them hate their lives and tell them that this thing you are selling to them will make their lives better. We're in an era of heightened capitalism. And a lot of the content we consume, one way or the other, is trying to sell something to us. And they will sell it at all costs. All cost. I want to have you know that people are willing to batter your esteem to strengthen their bank balance. People are willing to batter your esteem to strengthen their bank balance. People are willing to throw you under the bus to get to their destination. We're in an era of heightened capitalism, and people realize that to make people buy, you must make them feel insecure. It's the quickest way to make someone buy. That's why we need to be careful of the content we feed our mind. Some people are going to try to sell you skincare. But first of all, they will make you hate your natural skin complexion. I think women would be able to relate with this more than men. But men too, they are beginning to come for us too. It's all fair game now, not just women. It used to be just women before, but now even men. They begin to make you hate your skin complexion. a particular complexion is seen as ugly and one is seen as beautiful. That's why when you see a lot of women today, a lot of them have the same complexion. They are all heading towards one person's definition of beauty. To make you buy a medical procedure to alter your body shape, your figure, they must make you feel like a particular body shape is unattractive. They must sow the seed of insecurity. If you are secure about your body shape, you would not go for a medical procedure to increase the size of your bust or the size of your hips. Something must appear ugly. I see a lot of guys doing hair transplants, especially guys that are balding. And that's because it has been sold to us that a bald man is an unattractive man. So people saving up money to change their hairline, to change the facial feature. Your nose is too broad. To change that. Insecurity, catalyst for capitalism. People are willing to shatter your esteem to strengthen their bank balance. People are willing to shatter your esteem to sell a course. So when they are selling a course, they are not telling you how good the course is. They are telling you how terrible your life is. Aren't you tired of your life being so terrible? Then buy this course. Aren't you tired of your life being so terrible? Then buy this course. Real estate companies are willing or wanting to sell property in highbrow areas. So they ridicule places that are not highbrow, in quotes. And I've seen so much content. So many people create content. In Abuja here, they will tell you, they will depict what a place in an highbrow area looks like, and they contrast it to you living in a place that is, in their own opinion, a low-brow area. And they tell you, one is the slums, one is the trenches, and the other is for soft life. They sow a seed of insecurity. Insecurity, foundation for capitalism. These are the things that we have consumed over time that puts pressure on us. The content we consume. We even have programs that are meant to be church programs that plant insecurity so that you can come to church. It's almost like they are ridiculing you. Aren't you tired of being single? Don't you want to have your own husband? Don't you want to have your own child? Aren't you tired of being broke? So we amplify the insecurity. And that becomes the value of the program. And so people rush to cover their insecurity. They become discontented with their lives. They live with pressure. I want to have you know that the devil is fighting for your mind. The devil wants your mind. When the devil can gain your mind, he has your life. But the devil doesn't appear with a pitchfork and horns and a pointed tail. He appears through the exhaust, the toxic fumes that comes through the exhaust called people's mouths. A lot of times, what people say, how people can shatter your esteem. The devil shows up through content. Through content. I remember in 2020, during the pandemic, I had the only thing I consider as panic attacks. It seemed like such a dark period in my life. I'd never seen anything like that. Just over a couple of days, everything had changed. You couldn't go out. You had to put on face mask. And they were reeling statistics at you every single day of people that were infected and people that had died. And it went up every single day. Every single day. You were hearing statistics of people that had died, people that were infected with COVID. It was a very dark time for me. I had a lot of anxiety. A lot. There was so much information about people passing away from COVID. And at first, it started out by, okay, I don't know anybody now. Can this thing be real? And then it started getting closer and closer. You start hearing that this person died. This person died. This person. I just spoke to this person last week. They died. And it became all too real. Every day, the numbers were increasing. And like a horror movie, you just keep watching. You keep watching. Your anxiety keeps pulling you towards the very thing that is causing you anxiety. The terrible content. And one night, this thing reached its crescendo. I was about to go to bed, feeling so much anxiety and confusion about what the world was turning into. Watching videos of people being taken away from their homes to centers where they were being treated, and some of them never coming out. It was like a terrible movie. And that night, as I was going to bed, something told me, Tola, you will die during COVID. This thing will take you too. It was so clear. And my heart started racing. I started to panic. It said, Tola, this COVID will take you. You will die. And I was panicking. I didn't know what to do. I was looking for hope. And then I took my phone. And I can remember my hands were trembling. Because that information was real to me. And I searched for content of hope. I think that's what I typed, but I know there was hope in what I typed out. Hope. And the first thing that was suggested to me was the man called Pastor Joseph Prince. I had been seeing him on TV, but I never paid attention to him. For years, I never paid attention to him. That day, I was desperate for anything to give me hope. So I watched the video. And the video was about 20 minutes or so. And 10 minutes into the video, my heart started to beat normally. By the end of that video, I went to bed. I slept. I fell asleep. And I woke up the next morning, and the voice was coming to me again saying, Tola, remember what I told you last night? But you know the interesting thing? Another voice got up and said, remember what I told you last night? That you will be fine and all will be well. And for the first time, I didn't lean into the toxic fumes because I could finally see the sun. Even though the fumes were still around, I could see the sun. And I started to walk more towards the sun. So I went back and I checked for more content from Pastor Joseph Prince. It's a man in Singapore. He runs a church called the New Wine Church, I think, New Wine. God used him to get me through 2020. I would have lost my mind. Probably would have died if I truly leaned in to the terrible content. But here was this one good content in the midst of every other thing that was dark. Every other thing was dark. Everybody's WhatsApp status, everything on Instagram, everything on TV was all reflecting COVID, 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 COVID. Death, 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 death. But here was this one thing, one good content that was just shining the light of God, dispersing the fumes. It was hope. And after a while, I stopped seeing COVID. I even told my wife, I don't want to hear anything about statistics anymore. I don't want to hear, whether it's from the CDC or anything, I don't want to hear anything about these statistics anymore. I have found what gives me hope. I want to be all about it. So I started to ration my content and put all my mind, the eggs of my mind, in this one basket that gave hope. And before I knew it, I forgot about COVID. I started to see life. I started to go to bed happy, wake up happy. I started to become hopeful. Death was no longer the central theme of my mind. It was now life. I'm talking to someone here today. You need to begin to ration how you apportion your mind to content. There's a lot of terrible content out there. They will do anything to sell. And they have caught on to the fact that nothing triggers selling more than insecurity. Nothing. They have cracked the code. It is a dangerous code. Make them feel insecure and they will spend their last earnings to acquire this thing to cover their insecurity. That is not hope. That is manipulation. Some of you have been manipulated to stop seeing God's blessing and start seeing yourself as disadvantaged. Your skin complexion is not a disadvantage. It is God's blessing. Your bust size is not a disadvantage. It is God's blessing. Someone is going to see you the way you are and love you the way you are. Someone is going to see you the way you are and love you the way you are. Your esteem is not about how you look. It's about what you believe. I see so many people. I have nothing against exercising. It's good. But never do it to cover up your insecurities. Do it because you love yourself. I see so many people get into shape, get into shape, get into shape, get into shape, but they are never the shape. Never. In their mind, they are always ugly. And you're like, what more do you want, guy? You have six pack. See your chest, see your triceps, your muscles, everything. It's good, but then it still feels, oh, I don't look good. I feel insecure about my arms. I feel insecure about my legs. I'm like, what legs? These legs look good to me. But if it were like that, the gym membership will never sell. Those drugs will never sell if there was an end point. There's never an end point. It's a mirage. The closer you get is always forward. The closer you get, the reward is always ahead. You're about to get is always ahead. There's never a perfect body shape. Never. They push you till you get too far, and they tell you you've gotten too far, and they begin to reel you in, and then you get too far again, and before you know it, you are a yo-yo. I've seen ladies lose weight to the point where they become extremely skinny. And then they now begin to tell them, you are too skinny, you need some curves. And they begin to try back to get some curves. And they say, oh, no, you are too curvy, you need to really back. Before you know it, you are a yo-yo. Buying drugs, getting procedures done here and there. Watch your content. Watch your influencers. A lot of them are the ones bringing sadness into your life. Watch your spiritual leaders. Some of them to encourage you to keep showing up. They flaunt their cars, their houses, their private jets in your face to let you know your life is not yet on the spiritual high because you don't have these things yet. So you look at what you have. You look at your Toyota, and then you look at your pastor's Lexus Jeep, and you begin to disdain your Toyota. We need to be careful. People are onto it that insecurity is the biggest catalyst for prying money out of people's hands. We need to be careful. Find content that gives you hope. Find what gives you hope and hold on to it ruggedly. It will immune you from the so-called reality of life. See, I have a son. I was having this discussion with my wife earlier on, and she reminded me of my son's attitude. I want to share that with you. My youngest son, he's 3 years old. He has some toys, action figures. Spider-Man, Thor, Thanos, Marvel figures. He loves them so much. When he wakes up in the morning, he wakes up with them in his hand. He has a basket, carries them out. When he comes out of the room, he's with his Marvel figures. Carries them around the house every single time. When he's about to have his bath, he takes his figures with him. Marvel figures, Spider-Man, Thor, Thanos, takes them with him. They make him happy. When he's going to bed at night, he said it's time to go to bed. He packs up his figures wherever they are, takes his figures with him to bed at night. Those things fill him up with joy. So he doesn't joke with them. He goes everywhere with them. Time to go to church. Pack up his figures. It's going. Sometimes we have to take them from him. You cannot take this thing out. He will cry and cry. Because for him, that is his happy place. He doesn't compromise it. It immunes him from the reality around him. That is why he's always happy. Always happy. No matter what's going on, always happy. Even when he's not feeling fine, his figures make him happy. So he doesn't joke with them. He wakes up with them, has his bath with them, goes to bed with them. It's after he has slept that we go to the bed and we clear up everything. But once he wakes up, the first thing he goes to is look for his figures. If he doesn't find them, he will not be settled. Be that intentional about your content of hope. Some of us are joking with our content of hope. We joke with it, not knowing that the devil is not joking with you about breaking your esteem. Take your content of hope everywhere. In 2020, I listened to Pastor Prince like it was oxygen. Everywhere, walk around the house, listen. Walk around the house, listen. It was that or death. It was that content of hope or content of death. Any small gap, the devil wanted to exploit. So I had to stuff my ears till my spirit was pervaded and saturated with that hope. Some of you need to unfollow. You need to start getting serious with what gives you hope. And I've said this thing before. If this podcast doesn't give you hope, it pressures you. Stop listening to it now. Don't even wait till the end of this podcast. Stop now. But if it does give you hope, don't joke with it. Do not joke with it. Let people taunt you. Let people tell you, oh, that's all you do. No. Let them taunt you. You must be serious about your hope. Because your hope is your life, is your perception of life. That is the sun in your life. Be very careful about who is influencing you, who is motivating you. Some of them, your commission, the commission on your investment is their paycheck. They are like, invest, real estate, invest, crypto, invest. Why are they saying it? Because they want the commission that comes from you investing. Never forget that. And they will tell you all manner of stories, ridiculing everything about what they know is your current state of life to get that commission off your hands. Have you ever had someone trying to get you to buy a house? Have you ever hired a real estate agent to get you to sell your house and buy another house? They tell you about everything that is bad about your house. Aren't you tired of staying here? How much light did they give you here? There's no water here. Come to this place. This is where the billionaires stay. This is the promised land. People would say anything to make a commission off you and make you discontent with your life. I'm talking to my mentee today. Where you are is a blessing. You have a house. A lot of people do not have houses. You have a house. It's your place. It's your apartment. It's a blessing from God. Stop looking at the other person. Look in your own life. See how blessed you are. The rooms are yours. The toilets and the bathroom, they are yours. It's your house. For as long as you are renting it, you bought it, it's yours. Enjoy it. Don't let the devil steal that time that you have there. Enjoy it. Be proud of it. It is yours. It's from the hand of God. You have a car, the Nissan, the Toyota, the Peugeot, whatever. It's not a Benz, not a Lambo, not a Ferrari, not a Lexus, not a Rolls Royce. Yes, but it's your car. It's your car. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. Car salesmen will say anything to get that commission from your purchase, even if it means running you down. Be careful about your content. My name is Tola, T.A. Alabi, and this is the TA Podcast.